Okay, in a bowl to get started, I have 1 3/4 cups of all-purpose flour. Next, I'll be adding 1 teaspoon of sugar. I will also be adding a ½ teaspoon of kosher salt. Then next, I'll be adding a ½ cup of shortening. And here I'm just going to go ahead and give it a rough dice just to help mix it into the flour. You could use butter, or you could also use plain shortening. I just wanted to show you that today I'm using the butter flavored shortening. I'm just going to work the rest of the shortening in with my butter knife. And then with my clean hands, I'm just going to go ahead and start combining and trying not to overwork the flour. So you just kind of want to make it into a crumble. Now on to the ice cold water. I'm going to be adding 3 to 4 tablespoons of ice cold water. And again, without overworking the flour, I'm going to combine this. So this is pretty much what your crust dough should look like, and it sticks together, but it is still crumbly. And the reason for it being crumbly is because I was working with very cold shortening and ice cold water. And typically you want to just let your dough rest, but what I'm going to do is go ahead and roll it out and put it into my pie plate or my pie dish, and then I'm going to refrigerate. So now I'm just going to give it a good crumble and kind of put it together, and then I'm going to roll it out. Okay, so this is what my pie crust looks like, or my dough, and here is my pie dish. And this is a 9-inch pie dish, so what I'm going to do is gently and carefully roll this onto my rolling pin and then unroll it once I get it over to the pie dish. And if you've seen my other pie recipes or my cobblers, you will find a running theme with me and crust. You know, is a nice way of putting it. I like a nice rustic crust, so I am not a professional. I always say this, I am a home cook, and one day I will make you proud and do this awesome crust that has these awesome edges. But right now, I'm just going for taste. This is a really good go-to crust. And as far as my pie crust edges, well, it's a work in progress. But again, the taste will not disappoint you, and neither will the texture. So, having said that, let me work on my rustic pie crust. Okay, so after just kind of trimming off the edges and pinching them to kind of crimp it, I'm going to refrigerate this for at least 1 hour. And actually, I'm making this pie tomorrow, so I'm going to refrigerate overnight. Now on to the crumble. So here I have 1 full cup of all-purpose flour. I will also be adding a small pinch of kosher salt, and I think this just balances the brown sugar. So here I'm going to be adding 2/3 cups of light brown sugar. And I'm just going to work that in and kind of break apart any clumps. So next I'll be adding a ½ cup of cold unsalted butter, and I went ahead and diced it, and this is going to help me work it in without overworking it with my clean hands. I don't want the butter to melt too much. So now you're just going to kind of crumble it together. I also want to mention, since I'm making this tomorrow, if you're busy for the holidays cooking, these are 2 things that you can do to prep ahead of time and keep them in the fridge overnight, and they come out fine. So this is what you'll end up with after crumbling that together, and I'm going to refrigerate this for at least 30 minutes. But again, I'm making this tomorrow, so it'll be overnight. Okay, so here we are. It's the next day, and now I'm going to prepare my Granny Smith apples. And here I have about 2 pounds of Granny Smith apples. I am going to go ahead and peel these with a paring knife, and I'm going to slice them thinly. And you want to make sure you slice your Granny Smith apples very thin, because this will ensure that they cook properly once you bake it in the oven. Okay, now on to the ingredients for the pie filling. Here I have a half cup of sugar, 2 tablespoons of all-purpose flour, a half teaspoon of ground cinnamon, and about 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. First, I'm going to go ahead and combine the ground cinnamon and flour into the sugar, and I'm going to mix and combine them well. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and put a tablespoon and a half of fresh squeezed lemon juice into the apples. And let me just remove these seeds. And here we go. That's a tablespoon and a half. I'm just going to go ahead with my clean hands and toss that about to make sure they're evenly coated. And I'm also going to try to separate some of these apples that are stuck together. So now I'm going to go ahead and get our sugar, cinnamon, and flour dredge and just combine it into the apples evenly with my clean hands once again. And I'm just going to kind of shake it in there. And now you just want to work it in and coat all the apples evenly. Now that I've mixed and combined all of that, I'd like to introduce you to my rustic chilled pie crust. Ta-da! Okay, yeah, that was a bit dramatic. But here's my pie crust, and now I'm going to add the apples. And I'm actually doing 2 pies, so that's why I ended up with extra apples. But this is going to be about 8 to 9 cups of sliced apples if I had to measure it. Now all I need to do is just go ahead and situate these apple slices into the pie crust. Okay, so now that that's done, now I'm just going to add 2 tablespoons of unsalted butter and just kind of in small pieces, put it on top of all the apples. This is going to help give us a nice juicy filling. So now I'm going to break apart my crumb topping and add it to the top. And I just want to give you a nice close-up look of what I'm doing here, just so you kind of get an idea of when you're doing this, what it's supposed to look like. Now that that's all done, I'm just going to go ahead and press it down just a little, not too much. But I also want to mention that when I bake this, I'm going to leave it uncovered. I'm not going to cover the edges, the pie edges. And I will be baking this in a preheated oven of 375 degrees Fahrenheit for 40 to 45 minutes. And again, I'm not going to bother covering the pie crust. I've done this before and it really doesn't burn at this temperature. So it's been a little over 40 minutes and my pie is done. And I'm going to put this on a cooling rack to cool for 30 to 45 minutes. Yes, you heard that right. You have to wait. But hey, let's check out this beautiful golden crust and my beautiful golden crumb topping. Now you see that little burnt bit? That was exposed apple. So you want to make sure you cover it well with the crumb topping. But other than that, I think it came out beautifully. And I want to show you, I'm going to cut a slice and I'm going to show you what the inside looks like. See how wonderfully the thin sliced apples cooked? And because I let my pie rest for about 45 minutes, it's set up nicely. You don't see the apples spilling out of the pie crust. It held up, so that's the importance of letting it cool. So, having said that, I hope you give this recipe a try. I hope you like it, and thanks for watching! Hey guys, you can click on the video icons for more recipes. or you can click on my picture icon to subscribe. Thanks for watching.